Mercury enters Cancer on June 22, 2026. Mercury turns retrograde in Cancer on June 29, just 1 week after entering the sign, before retrograding back into Gemini on July 7. As a result, Cancer experiences Mercury's influence in multiple stages. The first phase, from June 22 to June 29, is the direct motion period when Mercury operates with its usual sharpness, curiosity, and communication skills. The second phase begins on June 29 as Mercury turns retrograde, shifting its energy inward and emphasizing review, reflection, and reassessment rather than outward action. After Mercury stations direct in Gemini and eventually returns to Cancer for its final direct pass, the sign receives a third wave of Mercury's influence. This extended cycle makes the 2026 Mercury in Cancer transit more significant and impactful than the average 3-week Mercury transit. It is essential to note that these interpretations are based on Sidereal or Vedic Astrology, which accounts for the approximately 24-degree difference with the tropical zodiac. To understand this transit, it is important to understand Mercury's role in astrology. Mercury governs communication, logical thinking, analytical ability, learning, writing, speaking, marketing, business instincts, skill development, adaptability, curiosity, and the exchange of information. Mercury is also a neutral planet, meaning it absorbs much of its expression from the planets surrounding it. When associated with benefic planets such as Jupiter and Venus, Mercury tends to express itself through intelligent, constructive, and inspired communication. When influenced by challenging planets, its expression can become more complicated. Because of this, the company Mercury keeps during a transit is often just as important as the sign it occupies. Cancer, ruled by the Moon, is the fourth sign of the zodiac and is associated with home, family, mother, emotional security, personal roots, nurturing, and the inner emotional world. As a water sign, Cancer processes life through feelings, intuition, sensitivity, and emotional awareness rather than pure logic. When Mercury, the planet of intellect and rational thought, moves through Cancer, a natural tension develops between reason and emotion. In Vedic astrology, Mercury is considered uncomfortable in Cancer because the Moon and Mercury have differing approaches to life. This does not make the transit negative, but it does mean that intellect and emotion become closely intertwined. On the positive side, Mercury in Cancer produces communication with emotional depth and authenticity. Writing becomes more heartfelt, conversations become more empathetic, and creative expression carries greater personal meaning. Business instincts may operate through intuition as much as analysis. Content, teaching, and creative work produced during this period often connect with people on a deeper emotional level because they come from genuine experience and feeling. The challenge is that decisions can become overly influenced by emotions, attachments, or personal loyalties. Business and personal choices may sometimes be guided by sentiment rather than objective reasoning. One of the most important lessons of this transit is learning to recognize when emotions are enhancing your judgment, and when they are clouding it. What makes this Mercury transit truly extraordinary in 2026 is the planetary combination waiting in Cancer when Mercury arrives. Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, and Venus are already in the sign, creating the powerful Mercury-Jupiter-Venus conjunction known as Saraswati Yoga. Saraswati Yoga is one of the most celebrated combinations in Vedic astrology because it brings together three natural benefics. Mercury represents intelligence, communication, learning, business skills, and knowledge. Jupiter represents wisdom, higher learning, philosophy, life experience, and dharma. Venus represents creativity, beauty, relationships, artistic expression, pleasure, and financial refinement. When these three planets unite, they create a powerful environment for learning, communication, creativity, and intellectual growth. Jupiter's exaltation makes it the dominant influence within this conjunction. An exalted Jupiter does more than simply add wisdom, it elevates the qualities of the planets around it. Venus becomes more refined and focused on meaningful experiences rather than temporary desires. Mercury's communication becomes more insightful, thoughtful, and philosophically grounded rather than merely clever or informative. Because Jupiter guides the entire combination, the results of this Saraswati Yoga are likely to produce lasting value rather than short-term benefits. For everyone, the major themes activated by Mercury's transit through Cancer involve home, family, emotional communication, education, creative development, meaningful learning, and the integration of wisdom into everyday decisions. The Saraswati Yoga significantly enhances the quality of communication, study, teaching, writing, content creation, and intellectual pursuits. The retrograde phase beginning on June 29th should not be viewed as an obstacle. Instead, it serves as a necessary pause that allows for reflection and refinement. It is a period to revisit conversations, review plans, rethink important decisions, reconnect with unfinished learning, and pay greater attention to family and emotional matters. By slowing down and reassessing what truly matters, the retrograde helps create greater clarity before Mercury moves forward again. Used wisely, this transit offers a rare combination of intelligence, wisdom, creativity, and emotional understanding that can bring meaningful growth on both personal and practical levels. It's crucial to recognize that Mercury symbolizes communication influenced by surroundings, mirroring how conversations reflect one's company. In essence, Mercury's transit triggers curiosity regarding matters related to the sign and house it traverses, prompting information gathering and sharing, aligning with Mercury's fundamental nature to communicate and exchange knowledge. To assess the impact of this transit, it's crucial to consider your ascendant and moon signs. The ascendant sign provides insights into the timing of life events, while the moon sign reveals how you'll emotionally respond to these changes. Consider the position of your current Mahadasha Lord in your birth chart, as it can shed light on how these transits will influence the recurring themes of your current Dasha period. A more precise understanding of the impact of this transit can be gained by examining Mercury's Ashtaka score in Cancer. Keep in mind that the effects of this transit will differ from person to person, contingent on Mercury's interaction with the planets in their individual birth charts, or its transit through the zodiac. It's also worth noting that individuals currently experiencing the influence of Mercury Dasha may feel the effects of this transit more intensely. It's important to remember that the effects of this transit will vary for each person. To understand how this transit may affect you based on your zodiac sign and the houses it transits, let's delve into those specifics. For Aries, Mercury entering Cancer on June 22nd pulls your mind toward home, family, and everything that forms the emotional foundation of your life. For Aries individuals, Cancer rules your fourth house, which represents your home environment, mother, domestic peace, fixed assets, property matters, vehicles, and the roots from which your life grows. When Mercury transits through this zone, your thinking and communication become deeply engaged with these domestic themes. You will find yourself having more conversations inside the home, with family members, and particularly with your mother during this period. Your curiosity around anything connected to your house, property, or family situation becomes noticeably more active. Mercury in Cancer naturally adds an emotional quality to your thinking. In the fourth house, this works very well because this is already the domain of emotions and personal nurturing. Your mind becomes softer, more receptive, and more willing to listen during this transit. Rather than just processing facts, you are processing feelings. This makes your family interactions richer and more meaningful, and it gives you a better intuitive sense of what is actually going on within your home environment. If there are domestic situations that have been quietly building, Mercury here brings them to the surface through conversation and gentle confrontation. Mercury rules your third house through Gemini and your sixth house through Virgo. As it moves through your fourth house, it carries the energy of both these houses into the domestic sphere. The third house represents communication, siblings, courage, short travels, and business thinking. The sixth house represents daily work routines, health, debts, and obstacles. This combination means that business discussions may begin happening from within your home setup. A sibling might bring something important related to family property to your attention. Short local trips connected to domestic matters or family errands are very likely. On the health side, conversations about diet at home, your mother's well-being, or improving your domestic lifestyle routine may come up practically. Now, what makes this transit stand out for Aries individuals is that Mercury does not enter Cancer alone. Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer, and Venus are already present in your fourth house when Mercury joins. This three-planet combination in your house of home and foundations creates the powerful Saraswati Yoga, one of the most auspicious combinations in Vedic astrology. Jupiter exalted in the fourth house already brings tremendous wisdom, emotional peace, and genuine domestic blessings. Venus adds beauty, comfort, and harmony to the home environment. Mercury joining this combination turns your home into a place of active intellectual and emotional engagement, a space where knowledge flows, meaningful conversations happen, and creative ideas take shape in the comfort of your own personal space. On a very practical level, this is a wonderful period for anything related to your home. If you have been researching property, planning home improvements, or thinking about buying or selling real estate, your mind is sharp and information-rich in this department during this transit. Conversations with family members about finances, property, or future domestic plans carry more depth and are more likely to reach productive conclusions. If you are in any form of work that can be done from home, the quality of that work is elevated during this transit because your domestic space has become genuinely supportive and creatively inspiring. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29th is something every Aries native must pay careful attention to. Just 1 week after entering Cancer, Mercury turns retrograde in your 4th house. This shifts the transit from actively moving forward to reviewing and reconsidering. The retrograde in the 4th house is a signal to slow down on any major domestic decisions. A property purchase, home renovation contract, or significant domestic commitment is better kept in the planning and research phase during the retrograde rather than being finalized. Documents related to property, housing loans, or family assets may contain errors or need revisions. Approach all such paperwork with extra care and do not rush to sign or commit. The retrograde also has a deeply personal emotional dimension for Aries individuals. Old family matters, conversations that were never fully resolved with your mother, or dynamics within the home that were swept under the rug can resurface during this period. Rather than avoiding these situations, understand that Mercury is creating the right emotional conditions for you to actually address them and bring some closure. The presence of Jupiter and Venus alongside Mercury in your 4th house means that these conversations, even if emotionally loaded, have a much higher chance of ending in genuine understanding and resolution than conflict. For creative work or learning that happens at home, this transit is excellent. Whether you are a student, a writer, an artist, or simply someone who wants to develop a new skill, working from your home environment during this period is particularly fruitful. The Saraswati Yoga active in your 4th house brings a rare blend of wisdom, aesthetic sensibility, and sharp intelligence into your domestic space. Even if you are not creatively oriented in your profession, you might find yourself picking up a book, starting a journal, or exploring a hobby that engages your mind and gives your home time more purpose and meaning. Overall, this Mercury transit through Cancer in your 4th house is a period of domestic richness, family communication, and emotional grounding. Use the direct phase from June 22nd to June 29th to engage actively with property research, family conversations, and domestic planning. Use the retrograde phase from June 29th onwards as a time to review, reflect, and avoid rushing toward conclusions. The powerful planetary combination in your 4th house makes this one of the more meaningful transits of the year for your home and family life, and it deserves your full attention and care. For Taurus, Mercury transiting Cancer brings some of its most natural energy to Taurus individuals because Cancer falls in your 3rd house, the domain of communication, writing, speaking, counseling, networking, siblings, short travels, and the development of skills. The 3rd house in the natural zodiac is associated with Gemini, which is Mercury's own sign, making Mercury feel very comfortable operating through this house even when the sign is Cancer. When your 3rd house becomes Mercury's transit ground, your mind turns outward, your curiosity spikes, and your desire to exchange ideas with the world around you intensifies. Mercury in Cancer in the 3rd house gives your communication a noticeably warmer and more emotionally resonant quality. You are not just communicating information during this period, you are communicating with genuine feeling and human sensitivity. This makes your words land differently. People around you feel that what you say actually comes from a personal place, not just from logic or calculation. In professional settings, this emotional sincerity in your communication can be more persuasive and effective than any polished presentation. In personal settings, it deepens conversations and makes your relationships feel more real and connected. Mercury rules your 2nd house through Gemini and your 5th house through Virgo. As it moves through your 3rd house, it draws the energy of these 2 houses into the communication zone. The 2nd house represents accumulated wealth, family values, savings, and the quality of your speech. The 5th house represents creativity, children, education, and intelligence. This means that the conversations you have and the communications you put out during this transit carry financial implications and creative significance. Business ideas can emerge from networking conversations. Educational discussions with people in your field can open doors you did not expect. Income from communication-based work, writing, content creation, or sales and marketing is supported during this transit, particularly during the direct phase. The extraordinary dimension of this transit for Taurus individuals is the conjunction forming in your third house. Mercury enters Cancer alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus, creating the Saraswati Yoga in your house of communication. Jupiter's exalted wisdom adds philosophical depth and authority to your words. Venus brings grace, charm, and an aesthetic beauty to how you express yourself. Mercury provides the sharp analytical edge and the speed of information. Together, these three planets in your third house make you an unusually compelling communicator during this period. Whatever you write, say, or present carries a rare combination of intelligence, warmth, and elegance that people respond to strongly. On a practical level, if you are in any field related to writing, speaking, content creation, journalism, marketing, sales, counseling, or teaching, this transit is one of the most productive windows of the year for your professional output. The quality of work you produce during the direct phase, from June 22nd to June 29th, can be genuinely outstanding. This is not the time to hold back on pitching ideas, reaching out to important contacts, or putting your creative communications into the world. The planetary support in your third house is exceptional, and the direct phase is your most powerful action window. Siblings, particularly younger ones, come into focus during this transit. Expect more frequent and more emotionally meaningful interactions with siblings. If there have been any unaddressed misunderstandings between you and a sibling, Mercury in Cancer in the third house with Jupiter and Venus supporting creates a genuinely supportive atmosphere for bridging those gaps. The Cancer quality makes conversations with siblings more emotionally open, and the presence of Jupiter and Venus means those conversations are more likely to end in mutual understanding and restored warmth. Short-distance travel is consistently highlighted for Taurus individuals during Mercury transits through the third house. These trips may be connected to business development, professional networking, visiting family members, or any activity requiring movement within a local or regional range. The Cancer emotional quality can make some of these travels feel personally significant rather than purely logistically useful. You might visit a place that holds emotional meaning, reconnect with someone important during a trip, or find that a seemingly practical short journey carries a depth of personal dimension you did not initially anticipate. The retrograde beginning on June 29th brings a review phase to your third house communication zone. Mercury retrograde in the third house is one of the most talked about retrograde placements because communication is Mercury's primary domain. During this period, expect delays or the need for revisions in any written agreements, proposals, or creative documents you recently submitted. Miscommunications with colleagues, clients, or people in your network can arise, so being extra clear, patient, and thorough in all your correspondence is important. Avoid signing any contracts or locking in business agreements during the retrograde. Wait until Mercury turns direct again before finalizing anything that commits you to a professional communication or service agreement. The retrograde also brings a beautiful invitation to revisit old creative work or shelved ideas. Something you worked on in the past and set aside may return to your attention during this period and feel worth developing again. An old business contact might reconnect. A project that did not get off the ground before may resurface with renewed possibility. This is the retrograde's gift to Taurus individuals in the third house, the chance to give a second life to ideas that were genuinely good but were ahead of their time. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your third house is one of the most communication-rich and professionally productive transits of the year for Taurus individuals. The Saraswati Yoga operating in your house of skills and expression gives your communications a rare depth and elegance. Use the direct phase actively to network, write, pitch, and express. Use the retrograde to review, refine, reconnect, and revisit your most valuable ideas. For Gemini, this Mercury transit carries a special personal significance because Mercury is your own sign lord. The planet that rules your chart and represents your very identity is now moving through your second house, where Cancer falls. The second house represents accumulated wealth, savings, family as a unit, food and eating habits, speech quality, values passed down through family, and the material resources you own. When your own chart ruler transits this house, your mind and personality become intensely focused on these matters of wealth, family, and the quality of what you say. Mercury in Cancer in the second house shifts your speech into a more emotionally expressive register. You will notice that during this transit, your words carry more feeling than usual. This is not your typical Gemini style, which tends to be quick, witty, and analytical. In the second house with Cancer, Mercury expresses itself through the heart as much as the head. This emotional quality in your speech makes you more influential in personal conversations, more moving in creative or persuasive communication, and more willing to speak about things that genuinely matter to you. The same emotional quality means you should be watchful in financial negotiations, where letting feelings drive the conversation too much can work against your best interests. Your sign Lord Mercury also rules the 4th house through Virgo. When it transits the 2nd house, it brings the energy of both the 1st house of self and the 4th house of home and mother into your wealth and family zone. This means that your personal sense of security and your emotional home environment are closely linked to your financial situation during this transit. Feeling secure at home and maintaining good communication with your mother or within your domestic space has a direct bearing on your confidence and clarity in financial matters. Conversations with family members about money, resources, or future financial planning are likely and may carry important practical implications. The most significant aspect of this Mercury transit for Gemini individuals is that Mercury enters Cancer alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. The presence of the Saraswati Yoga in your 2nd house is an extremely auspicious signature for prosperity, family well-being, and the quality of your speech and expression. Jupiter exalted in the 2nd house is one of the most celebrated placements for financial abundance and positive family environment. It expands your consciousness around wealth, brings wisdom to how you manage and grow your resources, and strengthens your family relationships. Venus alongside Jupiter in the 2nd house adds a love of quality, comfort, and beautiful experiences in life. Mercury joining this powerful duo means that your financial thinking is sharp, your family communication is elevated, and your speech during this period carries genuine intelligence and charm. On a very practical note, this is an excellent period to review your finances, create or revise a savings plan, and have important family discussions about money and resources. If you have been putting off a financial review or any documentation related to income, savings, or family assets, Mercury in Cancer in your 2nd house creates the mental focus and communicative energy needed to address these things effectively. The direct phase from June 22nd to June 29th is your strongest action window for financial planning and important family conversations. Speech quality deserves genuine and sustained attention throughout this entire transit. The 2nd house governs not just wealth but also the voice and the quality of what you say, and every significant conversation you engage in during this period carries more weight than is immediately obvious. Words spoken thoughtfully and from a place of genuine care have the power to build deep and lasting trust in your most important relationships. Words spoken reactively or without real consideration of their emotional impact on others can cause damage that takes considerable time to repair. The presence of Jupiter and Venus alongside Mercury in your 2nd house means you have the capacity for unusually eloquent, warm, and genuinely wise speech during this period, and that capacity is worth consciously developing and bringing to every significant interaction. Nourishment and food habits are also 2nd house themes that Mercury activates during this transit. Cancer's influence in the house of food and eating can heighten your emotional relationship with what you consume during this period. There can be a tendency toward comfort eating or using food as an emotional regulator when stress or anxiety arises. Being mindful of this pattern and maintaining a conscious and healthy relationship with your eating during this transit is a worthwhile investment of attention. On the positive side, this is an excellent period for exploring traditional family recipes, cooking more at home, or developing a more intentional and satisfying daily approach to nourishment. The retrograde beginning on June 29th asks you to slow down and review your financial situation rather than making major new commitments. Mercury retrograde in the 2nd house is a classic period for identifying errors in financial records, correcting banking or documentation mistakes, and revisiting financial decisions that were made hastily. Do not make large purchases, significant investments, or major financial commitments during the retrograde period. Wait until Mercury turns direct and you have the full picture before committing resources. Family conversations that were left incomplete or values-based discussions that were avoided may resurface during the retrograde. With Jupiter and Venus alongside Mercury in this house, these conversations have a greater likelihood of resolving in a way that genuinely strengthens your family bonds rather than creating conflict. The retrograde invites honest dialogue about shared resources, family expectations, and the values that guide your financial decisions as a family unit. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 2nd house is a deeply meaningful period for Gemini individuals. The Saraswati Yoga here in the house of wealth and family brings intelligence, beauty, and wisdom into your financial life and your closest family relationships. Use this transit to engage thoughtfully with your finances, nurture your family bonds, and speak with the fullness of both your intelligence and your heart. For Cancer, Mercury is transiting directly through your first house, your own sign. This makes the transit deeply personal and self-focused. The first house represents your physical body, your personality, the way you present yourself to the world, your life direction, your overall vitality, and the impression you leave on others. When Mercury moves through your first house, your mind and your identity become the active instruments of this transit. You think about yourself more, communicate about yourself more, and engage with your own life story in a more conscious and deliberate way. Mercury in Cancer in the first house gives your personality a noticeably more communicative and emotionally expressive quality during this period. People around you will find you more talkative, more willing to share your inner world, and more interested in genuine conversation rather than surface-level exchange. The Cancer sign naturally makes you emotionally receptive, and with Mercury here, that emotional receptivity gets a sharp intellectual edge. You can articulate your feelings with unusual clarity, and this ability to communicate your inner world effectively is one of the most valuable gifts this transit offers. Mercury rules your third house through Virgo and your 12th house through Gemini. When it transits the first house, it brings the energy of these two houses directly into your personality and life expression. The third house represents communication, courage, siblings, short travels, and business skills. The 12th house represents hidden matters, foreign connections, spiritual dimensions, and subconscious patterns. The combination of 3rd and 12th house energy through Mercury in the first house means that your personal expression during this transit may include communicating about things you usually keep private. You might feel compelled to speak more honestly about your inner life, your struggles, or your spiritual perspective. This can be liberating and also vulnerable, so choosing the right audience for these conversations matters. What makes this transit truly exceptional for Cancer individuals is that Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, and Venus are already present in your first house when Mercury joins. This forms the Saraswati Yoga directly in your first house, your house of self. Jupiter exalted in the first house brings an aura of wisdom, generosity, and natural authority to your personality. People around you sense a kind of elevated quality in how you carry yourself. Venus in the first house adds physical grace, charm, and an appealing warmth to your presence. Mercury joining this combination means that your communicative intelligence and sharpness of mind are now working in perfect harmony with Jupiter's wisdom and Venus's charm. During this transit, your personal presence is genuinely magnetic, and the way you communicate your ideas and express your personality naturally draws people toward you. On a very practical level, this is an excellent period for anything that requires you to put yourself forward. Pitching an idea, representing yourself in a meeting, meeting new people, building your personal brand, starting a new project under your own name, or creating content that reflects your personality are all supported during this transit. The direct phase from June 22nd to June 29th is your strongest window for these outward-facing personal actions, and you should use it. Physical health and your relationship with your own body also come into focus when Mercury transits the first house. There can be an increased awareness of health matters, a desire to read about wellness, or a renewed interest in starting a health routine. The Cancer quality of this transit makes digestive health and emotional well-being particularly relevant. Paying attention to how your emotional state is affecting your body during this period is valuable practical self-knowledge. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29th shifts the energy of the first house transit from outward expression to inward reflection. Mercury retrograde in your first house is a deeply introspective period. You will find yourself reviewing your own life choices, reconsidering decisions about your personal direction, and processing aspects of your identity that you have not given full attention to recently. This is not a crisis, it is a recalibration. The presence of Jupiter and Venus alongside Mercury in your first house means that even during this inward phase, the atmosphere is one of wisdom and self-acceptance rather than self-criticism. During the retrograde, avoid making impulsive changes to your life direction, your appearance, your relationships, or your professional path. These decisions, made during a retrograde in the first house, can often feel right in the moment but turn out to need revision once Mercury turns direct again. Instead, use this period for journaling, meditation, and honest self-assessment. What are you truly working toward? What parts of your life feel genuinely aligned with who you are, and what parts feel like they belong to a version of yourself that you have outgrown? These are the questions that Mercury retrograde in your first house is asking you to sit with and explore. For Cancer individuals in any relationship, Mercury in the first house makes personal communication in relationships more important. You will want to be known and understood at a deeper level, and you will make genuine efforts to communicate who you are and what matters to you. The presence of Venus here makes this self-expression more loving and receiving, which helps deepen romantic and close personal bonds. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your first house is one of the most personally significant transits of the year for Cancer individuals. The Saraswati Yoga operating in your first house elevates your personality, your communication, and your personal presence to an unusually high level. Use the direct phase to express, connect, and move forward. Use the retrograde to reflect, realign, and reconnect with your truest self. For Leo, Cancer falls in your 12th house, which represents foreign lands, spiritual retreat, hidden matters, subconscious mind, expenses, isolation, sleep, long-distance journeys, and the behind-the-scenes dimensions of your life. When Mercury transits the 12th house, it turns your mind inward and toward the unseen. This is not a transit that favors loud external action or social visibility. Instead, it favors introspection, private creative work, spiritual engagement, and the kind of thinking that happens when you are alone and undisturbed. Mercury in Cancer in the 12th house makes your mind unusually contemplative and emotionally sensitive during this period. You will process a lot internally without necessarily expressing it all outwardly. There can be a feeling of mental busyness in private, with lots of emotional thinking and feeling going on beneath the surface that does not always make it into your external conversations. This is actually a productive state for any work that requires deep focus, emotional authenticity, or behind-the-scenes creative effort. The Cancer quality adds a nostalgic and deeply personal tone to your thoughts, and you may find yourself reflecting on the past, on family, or on old chapters of your life with a new and somewhat gentler perspective. Mercury rules your 2nd house through Virgo and your 11th house through Gemini. When it transits the 12th house, it brings the energy of these two houses into the domain of hidden matters and behind-the-scenes activity. The 2nd house represents wealth, family, and speech. The 11th house represents income, gains, elder siblings, and social networks. The connection of 2nd and 11th house energy through Mercury in the 12th house means that during this transit, there can be financial activity that is not immediately visible or that happens through channels that are not part of your main income stream. Foreign income, payments received through online or indirect means, or income from creative work done in private are all possible. At the same time, expenses during this period need monitoring because 12th house Mercury combined with Venus can sometimes encourage spending on comfort, aesthetics, or lifestyle beyond what is necessary. The most significant aspect of this transit for Leo individuals is that Mercury enters Cancer in the 12th house alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. This powerful three-planet combination in your 12th house creates a deeply spiritual and creatively potent atmosphere. Jupiter exalted in the 12th house is a classic indicator of spiritual depth, a meaningful relationship with foreign cultures or foreign lands, and a kind of inner richness that is not about material achievement, but about genuine wisdom and peace. Venus in the 12th house alongside Jupiter brings a love of spiritual beauty, meditative aesthetics, and creative work done in solitude. Mercury joining this combination means that your mind is working as an intelligent bridge between the material and spiritual worlds during this transit. The insights and creative ideas that emerge in your private moments during this period can be genuinely profound. On a very practical level, this is a powerful period for any work that happens behind the scenes. Writing done in private, creative projects in progress that are not yet ready for public presentation, research and investigative work, spiritual reading and study, or any professional work conducted remotely or in a foreign context can all flourish during this transit. If you have been avoiding sitting down with a creative project because the external environment felt too distracting, this transit creates the inner conditions for focused, absorbed, deeply personal creative work. Sleep and dream quality during this transit may be unusual. The 12th house governs sleep, and Mercury here can keep the mind unusually active in the night hours. Vivid, emotionally charged dreams are common. Keeping a small notebook nearby to jot down thoughts or dream fragments that arise during the night can be surprisingly useful, because Mercury in the 12th house sometimes brings subconscious information to the surface that has genuine practical or creative value in the waking life. Foreign connections come into focus for Leo individuals during this transit. If you have professional or personal ties with people abroad, communications related to those connections increase during this period. Any paperwork or planning connected to foreign travel, immigration, or international work may need attention and could see movement during the direct phase from June 22nd to June 29th. The retrograde beginning on June 29th deepens the inward dimension of this transit significantly. Mercury retrograde in your 12th house is one of the more introspective retrograde placements, and for Leo individuals, it creates a period of genuine soul-searching. Old subconscious patterns, emotional wounds that have not been fully processed, or mental frameworks that no longer serve your growth can surface during the retrograde. The presence of Jupiter and Venus in the same house means this inner encounter is not without support. The wisdom of Jupiter and the grace of Venus help you process what comes up with compassion rather than judgment. Expenses need monitoring during the retrograde phase in particular. Unnecessary spending, impulsive purchases, or overindulgence in comfort-related expenses can creep up during this period. Staying conscious of where your money is going and holding off on any large financial commitments until Mercury turns direct is a wise practical measure. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 12th house is a deeply inward and spiritually enriching period for Leo individuals. The powerful combination active in your house of hidden life and spiritual retreat makes this a time to slow down, go inward, create in private, and allow the deeper dimensions of your mind and soul to come forward. Use this transit as your retreat from the busy external world and let the inner richness that is available to you during this period be genuinely nourishing. For Virgo, Mercury transiting Cancer places your own sign lord in the 11th house, which is one of the most outwardly productive and materially rewarding positions in the entire chart. The 11th house represents income and financial gains, the fulfillment of long-held personal and professional desires, your social network and large professional circles, elder siblings, friendships and group affiliations, and the rewards that flow back to you as a result of sustained effort in your career and personal development. When Mercury, your own chart ruler, moves through this zone, your personal intelligence and communicative strengths are being directly channeled into the area of earnings, achievement, and meaningful social expansion. This is a transit where who you are and what you are working toward come into very natural and productive alignment. The planet that governs your chart, your identity, and your intellect is moving through your house of gains and desires. This is inherently a supportive signature. Your personal intelligence and communicative abilities are being directly channeled into the area of income, achievement, and social expansion. Your mind is working for you in the most literal way during this transit, helping you identify opportunities, make the right connections, and articulate your value to the people who matter professionally. Mercury also rules your 10th house through Gemini. When it transits the 11th house, it brings the energy of both the 1st and 10th houses into your gains zone. The 1st house is your personality and life path. The 10th house is your career, professional reputation, and public role. This combination means that your personal brand and professional credibility are directly feeding into your income and social network expansion during this transit. Networking conversations that happen during this period are not superficial. They carry the weight of your professional identity and reputation, and they are likely to lead to concrete opportunities rather than just casual acquaintances. The most exceptional dimension of this transit is that Mercury enters Cancer in your 11th house alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. Jupiter exalted in the 11th house is one of the most celebrated transit signatures for financial gains, large income, and the fulfillment of deeply held goals. This combination, already extraordinary on its own, becomes the Saraswati Yoga with Mercury's addition. The Saraswati Yoga in your 11th house means that the intellectual and communicative excellence that this conjunction represents is being directed toward financial and social achievement. The wisdom of Jupiter, the charm and creative appeal of Venus, and the sharp communicative intelligence of Mercury are all working together in your house of gains. Your professional presence during this transit is genuinely commanding, and the opportunities that come to you through your network during this period deserve serious attention. On a very practical level, this is a strong period for reaching out to important professional contacts, attending industry events, engaging actively on professional platforms, or making a push for that income goal you have been working toward. The period from June 22nd to June 29th, when Mercury is direct in Cancer, is your most powerful action window. Make use of it. Conversations that happen during this window with the right people can lead to real and tangible outcomes. Elder siblings are a meaningful and practical theme for Virgo individuals during this transit. If you have older brothers or sisters, communications with them during this period can carry real financial or professional significance, whether through opportunities they introduce, advice they offer, or shared ventures that come to the table. The Cancer quality in Mercury makes these sibling interactions emotionally warmer and more personally connected than ordinary transactional exchanges, which naturally deepens those relationships in ways that have value beyond the immediate practical benefit. Income expectations and financial goals deserve honest and structured engagement during this transit. With Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury all active in your 11th house, the conditions for income growth are genuinely and substantially present, but they require your active communicative engagement to fully materialize. This is not a transit that rewards passivity or waiting. Mercury in the 11th house consistently rewards those who reach out, pitch intelligently, and show up in the professional spaces where the right opportunities are waiting. The Cancer quality adds emotional intelligence and genuine personal warmth to this outreach, making your approach feel more authentic and naturally attractive rather than mechanically transactional. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29th brings a necessary pause to your outward networking activity. Mercury retrograde in the 11th house is a period to review your income streams, assess whether your financial goals are truly aligned with what you want, and reconnect with people from your past network who might carry new relevance. Old professional contacts who fell out of touch may resurface with unexpected opportunities. A project or income avenue that was shelved previously might come back to life during this retrograde period. During the retrograde, hold off on finalizing major financial agreements, signing new income contracts, or making large network-related commitments. Payments you are expecting may face delays. Income discussions that seem settled may need revision. Approach all of this with patience, and use the extra time to ensure that every financial arrangement is completely clear and thoroughly reviewed before you commit. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 11th house is one of the most gainful and socially energizing transits of the year for Virgo individuals. The Saraswati Yoga in your house of income and desires is a rare and powerful combination. Use the direct phase to actively build your network and pursue your income goals. Use the retrograde to review, reconnect, and refine. The rewards available during this transit are real, and they go to those who communicate with intelligence and genuine personal warmth. For Libra, Mercury transiting Cancer moves through your 10th house, which is one of the most important and visible positions in the entire chart. The 10th house represents your career, profession, public reputation, relationship with authority figures, your standing in the world, your dealings with government or legal systems, and the actions through which you build your legacy. When Mercury transits this house, professional communication, workplace conversations, and anything related to your public role become the center of your mental activity. Mercury in Cancer in the 10th house gives your professional communication an emotional depth and genuine human warmth that sets you apart in work settings. You approach colleagues, clients, and authority figures with more empathy and personal consideration during this transit. This makes your professional relationships feel more like genuine human connections rather than transactional exchanges, and that quality of authentic engagement is something people in your professional world notice and appreciate. Your ability to communicate complex matters with emotional intelligence and clarity is at a high point during this transit. Mercury rules your 9th house through Gemini and your 12th house through Virgo. When it transits the 10th house, it carries the energy of these two houses into your career zone. The 9th house represents higher education, good fortune, philosophical outlook, long-distance matters, and gurus. The 12th house represents foreign connections, behind-the-scenes work, expenses, and spiritual dimensions. The combination of 9th and 12th house energy through Mercury in the 10th house suggests that professional growth during this transit may come through an international or long-distance dimension of your work, through a mentor figure or an institution of higher learning, or through a project that operates somewhat behind the scenes but has a significant public impact. If you have foreign clients or work in an industry with international reach, this transit actively supports those professional dimensions. What makes this transit particularly extraordinary for Libra individuals is that Mercury enters your 10th house alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. Jupiter exalted in the 10th house is one of the most celebrated combinations in Vedic astrology for career success, professional authority, ethical leadership, and genuine public recognition. This combination transforms your professional presence into something genuinely distinguished and trustworthy. Venus alongside Jupiter in the 10th house adds creativity, aesthetic sensibility, and a charming professional persona that draws positive attention and opportunity. The Saraswati Yoga formed by Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus in your career house means that the full force of intellectual excellence, wisdom, and creative grace is being directed toward your professional life during this transit. On a very practical level, this is one of the best periods of the year for Libra individuals to push their professional agenda forward. If there is a project you need approval for, a promotion you have been working toward, a pitch you need to make to an important person, or a professional presentation that can shift the direction of your career, the period from June 22nd to June 29th, when Mercury is direct in your 10th house, is a genuinely powerful window for these actions. Your professional communication during this direct phase carries an unusual combination of warmth, intelligence, and authority that people in positions of power respond to very favorably. Government-related matters, interactions with legal and regulatory authorities, official institutional processes, or any dealings with systems of authority may come up for Libra individuals during this transit. Mercury in the 10th house activates communication in these official spheres, and the combined presence of Jupiter and Venus alongside Mercury suggests these dealings, even when complex or procedurally involved, tend to resolve in your favor when approached with adequate preparation, clear and complete communication, and a cooperative rather than adversarial attitude. Do not delay official matters requiring your attention. The direct phase is a productive time to address them proactively. The Cancer quality in the 10th house also means that some of your career decisions during this transit are driven by what genuinely resonates with you emotionally, not just what makes strategic sense on paper. You may choose or decline professional opportunities based on how they feel rather than purely how they calculate, and this instinct during this transit is worth respecting. The emotional wisdom of Cancer in the 10th house is telling you something real about the kind of work that actually aligns with your deeper purpose. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29th brings a review phase to your professional life. Mercury retrograde in the 10th house is a well-known period for reassessing career direction, revisiting professional decisions, and sometimes reconnecting with people from earlier phases of your career. A past employer, old colleague, or professional contact you have not spoken with in some time might resurface with new relevance. A professional opportunity that was not possible before may come back around under better circumstances. During the retrograde, major career moves should be approached with extra caution. Handing in a resignation, accepting a new job offer, or making a significant professional commitment during the retrograde in the 10th house carries a higher risk of needing to be undone or revised later. This is a time for gathering more information about your professional options, reviewing ongoing projects carefully for errors or gaps, and reflecting on the longer-term direction of your career rather than making reactive decisions. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 10th house is one of the most professionally significant transits of the year for Libra individuals. The Saraswati Yoga in your career house brings a rare and powerful blend of wisdom, charm, and communicative intelligence to your professional world. Use the direct phase to advance your professional presence and pursue key opportunities. Use the retrograde to review your professional strategy and reconnect with the people and possibilities that belong to your next chapter. For Scorpio, Mercury transiting Cancer moves through your 9th house, one of the most expansive and fortunate positions in the horoscope. The 9th house represents higher wisdom, good fortune, long-distance travel, foreign cultures, higher education, gurus and mentors, religious and philosophical frameworks, your father or fatherly authority figures, and the broader meaning you find in life. When Mercury transits this house, your mind reaches beyond the ordinary concerns of daily life and seeks something larger, deeper, and more meaningful. Mercury in Cancer in the 9th house makes your intellectual quest during this period particularly emotionally engaged. You are not just seeking facts or knowledge for practical purposes. You are seeking wisdom that feels personally meaningful and that connects to your heart as much as your mind. The Cancer quality brings a deeply personal dimension to your higher learning during this transit. Spiritual teachings, cultural traditions, philosophical texts, or even conversations with people who carry genuine wisdom will feel unusually significant and moving during this period. You absorb knowledge through feeling as much as through analysis, which can make the lessons of this transit particularly lasting. Mercury rules your 8th house through Gemini and your 11th house through Virgo. When it transits the 9th house, it brings the energy of these two houses into your domain of higher wisdom and fortune. The 8th house represents research, transformation, hidden knowledge, joint finances, and the occult. The 11th house represents income, gains, social networks, and the fulfillment of desires. The combination of 8th and 11th house energy through Mercury in the 9th house means that your higher learning during this transit may have an investigative or transformational quality. Subjects that most people shy away from because of their depth or complexity, such as occult sciences, psychology, transformative philosophies, or esoteric spiritual traditions, are areas where your mind can go very deep and productively during this period. Income or support connected to teaching, publishing, foreign connections, or educational work is also possible. The most exceptional aspect of this transit for Scorpio individuals is the conjunction in your 9th house. Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer, and Venus are both present alongside Mercury, forming the Saraswati Yoga in the house of higher wisdom and fortune. Jupiter is the natural planetary ruler of the 9th house and governs its themes by its very nature. Jupiter being exalted in Cancer while operating in its own thematic domain creates an extraordinarily auspicious combination, one where wisdom flows naturally and expansively and where the broader philosophical and spiritual framework of your life receives genuine and lasting enrichment. Venus alongside exalted Jupiter in the 9th house adds grace, devotion, and a love of beauty within the spiritual and cultural dimensions of life. Mercury completing this trio brings the communicative intelligence and analytical depth needed to effectively articulate, share, study, and practically apply the exceptional wisdom available during this period. On a practical level, this transit is an exceptional period for higher education, whether that means formally enrolling in a course, engaging deeply with books and teachers in a subject you love, or simply carving out time for the kind of learning that feeds your soul rather than just your career. If you are currently in a graduate program, completing a professional certification, or engaged in independent research, the quality and depth of your work during this transit can be genuinely outstanding. Long-distance travel is strongly highlighted for Scorpio individuals during this period. Whether for personal growth, professional purposes, or spiritual exploration, the combination of Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus in your 9th house creates a powerful pull toward expanding your geographical and cultural horizons. If physical travel is not possible, the desire to connect with people from different backgrounds, study traditions from different cultures, or immerse yourself in foreign ideas through books and online channels will still be very strong. Your father or a father-like authority figure may become an important presence during this transit. The 9th house in Vedic astrology is connected to the father, and Mercury here can bring meaningful conversations, guidance, or simply a renewed awareness of the influence your father or a key mentor has had on your life philosophy. With Cancer's emotional quality in this house, these interactions have a deeply personal and often moving dimension. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29 shifts your 9th house energy from outward seeking to inward reflection. Mercury retrograde in the 9th house is a powerful period for reviewing your beliefs, your life philosophy, and your spiritual framework. Old religious or philosophical ideas that you were raised with but moved away from may resurface for re-examination. A teacher, mentor, or guru from an earlier period of your life might reconnect or come to mind with renewed significance. Books, courses, or intellectual pursuits you began but did not complete may call for your attention again. During the retrograde, major decisions related to long-distance travel, educational enrollment, or philosophical commitments are better deferred until Mercury turns direct. The retrograde period is ideal for integrating the knowledge you already have rather than rushing to accumulate more. Sitting with what you already know, allowing it to settle, and letting it reshape your inner framework is the most productive use of Mercury retrograde in the 9th house. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 9th house is a period of significant philosophical expansion, spiritual deepening, and fortunate connection with wisdom traditions and teachers. The Saraswati Yoga in the House of Fortune and Higher Learning makes this one of the most genuinely enriching transits of the year for Scorpio individuals. Use the direct phase to seek, study, and explore with an open mind. Use the retrograde to go inward and integrate the wisdom this transit is offering you. For Sagittarius, Mercury transiting Cancer places the planet of communication and intelligence in your 8th house, which is the most transformative and investigatively oriented zone of the chart. The 8th house represents sudden or unexpected events and the capacity to navigate them with resilience and composure, deep psychological transformation and the process of genuine personal change, research into hidden and complex matters that most people prefer not to examine, occult and esoteric knowledge, joint financial matters including shared assets with a partner, and any form of inheritance or gifts. Your relationship with in-laws, wealth and resources, and the deeper subconscious layers of the mind that shape behavior in ways not always visible on the surface. When Mercury moves through this house, your mind is naturally drawn toward investigation, depth, complexity, and the kinds of thinking that go beneath the obvious surface of situations to uncover what is truly operating. Mercury in Cancer in the 8th house gives your investigative mind an emotional and intuitive quality during this transit. You are not just analyzing what is visible, you are sensing what is hidden. The Cancer quality adds a kind of emotional radar to Mercury's analytical sharpness, allowing you to read between the lines of conversations, pick up on unspoken tensions, and understand the emotional undercurrents in situations before they become obvious to others. This perceptiveness is a tremendous asset in any situation that requires careful navigation of complex human dynamics, whether in business negotiations, personal relationships, or professional research. Mercury rules your 7th house through Gemini and your 10th house through Virgo. When it transits the 8th house, it brings the energy of these two houses into the area of transformation and hidden matters. The 7th house represents partnerships, marriage, business relationships, and your dealings with others. The 10th house represents career, professional reputation, and public authority. The combination of 7th and 10th house energy through Mercury in the 8th house means that certain partnership or professional matters during this transit have a behind-the-scenes or transformative quality. Something that has been unclear or opaque in a business partnership or career situation may come to light. Research into a matter connected to your professional reputation or a key business relationship may be necessary and may reveal information that changes your understanding of the situation significantly. The conjunction in your 8th house is what makes this transit particularly noteworthy for Sagittarius individuals. Mercury enters Cancer alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. Jupiter exalted in the 8th house is a protective and wisdom-giving combination that transforms what is typically considered a house of fear and sudden loss into a house of deep resilience, spiritual power, and occasionally unexpected gains from unknown sources. The presence of Venus alongside exalted Jupiter and Mercury in the 8th house creates the Saraswati Yoga in this intense house, which means that the wisdom, grace, and intelligence of this conjunction are being channeled into the most transformative dimensions of your life. This is not something to fear, it is something to work with consciously and wisely. On a very practical level, this transit is excellent for research, deep study, and any professional work that requires going beneath the surface. If you work in medicine, psychology, finance, law, investigative journalism, occult sciences, or any field where depth of understanding is more important than surface breadth, this transit provides exceptional mental resources. Your ability to uncover hidden information, solve complex problems, and navigate difficult situations with a combination of analytical sharpness and emotional intelligence is at a high point. Joint financial matters need active attention during this transit. Any money that is shared with a partner or spouse, financial dealings connected to inheritance or gifts from others, insurance claims, loans, or shared investments should be reviewed and brought into clarity. Mercury in your 8th house wants to shed light on these areas, and with Jupiter and Venus supporting the process, the outcomes of such financial clarity tend to be constructive rather than problematic. If you have been avoiding a joint financial conversation because it felt too complicated, this transit provides the right combination of mental sharpness and emotional sensitivity to handle it well. Health matters connected to chronic conditions, or anything related to the areas of the body governed by the 8th house in Cancer deserve mindful attention during this transit. Mercury here activates your information-gathering instincts around health, which can mean researching symptoms, seeking second opinions, or finally addressing a health matter that has been ongoing but unaddressed. The protective influence of Jupiter and Venus in the same house is a reassuring presence. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29 deepens the already inward quality of the 8th house transit considerably. During the retrograde phase, buried emotions, old psychological patterns, or unresolved matters connected to loss, transformation, or shared resources can surface. This is not meant to destabilize you. It is meant to give you the opportunity to process and release what has been held in the subconscious. The wisdom of Jupiter and the grace of Venus alongside Mercury here mean you have more inner resources for this process than you might realize. During the retrograde, communications around joint finances, partnership agreements, or behind-the-scenes professional matters need extra care. Important documents related to shared assets, insurance, or inheritance should be reviewed very carefully. Miscommunications around these sensitive areas can create complications, so patient and thorough communication is essential. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 8th house is a period of depth, transformation, and hidden knowledge. The Saraswati Yoga operating in this intense house turns it into a space of genuine wisdom and resilience rather than fear. Use this transit to research deeply, handle shared financial matters with clarity, and allow the transformative intelligence available during this period to help you navigate even the most complex aspects of your life with wisdom and composure. For Capricorn, Mercury Transit in Cancer places the planet of communication and intelligence in your 7th house, which is the house of partnerships in all their significant forms. The 7th house represents marriage and intimate life partnership, business partnerships and collaborative professional relationships, your engagement with clients and the broader public in a professional capacity, legal dealings and formal agreements with other parties, and any form of significant one-on-one interaction that carries genuine personal or professional weight. When Mercury moves through this house, your mind becomes focused on the people you are in close relationship with and on the quality and depth of the communication happening within those relationships. Partnership conversations, collaborative planning, and the art of genuinely understanding another person's perspective and needs take center stage in your thinking. Mercury in Cancer in the 7th house gives your communication within relationships a noticeably warmer, more nurturing, and emotionally open quality during this period. The typical Capricorn approach to communication tends to be measured, practical, and sometimes reserved. Mercury in Cancer in the 7th house softens that quality and encourages a different kind of engagement, one where you express genuine care, listen with real empathy, and allow emotional authenticity into your most important conversations. This is not weakness, it is a strength. The people you are in relationship with, whether professional partners or life partners, will feel the difference and respond to it positively. Mercury rules your 6th house through Gemini and your 9th house through Virgo. When it transits the 7th house, it brings the energy of these two houses into your partnership zone. The 6th house represents daily work, service, health matters, and the handling of conflicts and competitors. The 9th house represents higher wisdom, good fortune, foreign connections, and philosophical guidance. The combination of 6th and 9th house energy through Mercury in the 7th house means that some of your partnerships during this transit have a work or service dimension, and others may be connected to foreign or long-distance people. A business partner with international connections, a spouse who has traveled extensively, or a new professional relationship that forms through a long-distance introduction may become significant during this transit. Wise guidance from a partner or a philosophical conversation within your closest relationships is very possible. The most powerful aspect of this transit for Capricorn individuals is that Mercury enters Cancer in the 7th house alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. Jupiter exalted in the 7th house is one of the most auspicious placements in Vedic astrology for marriage, business partnerships, and relationship quality. An exalted Jupiter in the house of partnerships brings wisdom, generosity, and expansion into your closest relationships. It attracts partners who are genuinely wise and well-intentioned. Venus, the natural significator of partnerships, which adds beauty, romance, harmony, and loving energy to your relationship dynamics. The Saraswati Yoga formed by Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus in your 7th house creates an atmosphere in your partnerships that is genuinely rare, intelligent, graceful, and deeply harmonious. On a very practical level, this is one of the most partnership-supportive transits of the year for Capricorn individuals. If you are married or in a committed relationship, expect the quality of communication between you and your partner to improve significantly during this transit. Conversations that matter, the kind that genuinely deepen your understanding of each other and your shared direction, are more likely to happen naturally. If there have been any unresolved matters between you and your partner that require open discussion, Mercury in Cancer in your 7th house provides the emotional and communicative tools to approach those conversations with sensitivity and real care. 4. Business partnerships. The direct phase from June 22nd to June 29th is your strongest window for collaborative planning, contract discussions, and developing a shared vision with professional partners. The combined energy of Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury in your 7th house creates conditions where partnerships formed or deepened during this period can carry genuine wisdom, complementary strengths, and long-term potential. If you are single and seeking a meaningful relationship, this transit significantly increases the possibilities. Venus in your house of partnerships alongside Jupiter and Mercury creates a natural attraction energy, and the connections that form during this period are more likely to be characterized by intellectual compatibility, genuine warmth, and real potential for depth. The retrograde that Mercury begins on June 29th brings a review dimension to your relationship zone. Mercury retrograde in the 7th house is a well-known period for old relationship matters resurfacing, past conversations or commitments being revisited, and sometimes reconnection with people who played a significant role in your partnership life earlier. An ex-partner, a former business associate, or someone from a past professional relationship may come back into your orbit during this period. How you engage with that depends on your current situation, but the retrograde is generally not the time for making irreversible decisions about it. During the retrograde, major partnership commitments, signing of business contracts, or legal agreements with partners should be deferred until Mercury turns direct again. Miscommunications with partners are more likely during the retrograde, so being especially clear, patient, and thorough in your partnership communications is important. Make sure that both parties are fully aligned on key matters before proceeding with any significant partnership action. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 7th house is a deeply relationship-focused and partnership-enriching transit for Capricorn individuals. The Saraswati Yoga in the house of partnerships brings wisdom, harmony, and beautifully intelligent communication into your closest connections. Use the direct phase to engage deeply with your partners, have meaningful conversations, and develop your most important collaborations. Use the retrograde to review, reflect, and ensure that your partnerships are built on real mutual understanding. For Aquarius, Mercury transiting Cancer moves through your 6th house, which represents daily work routines, professional service, health and physical well-being, competition and obstacles, debts, colleagues, and the practical discipline required to keep your daily life functioning effectively. The 6th house is one where effort and intelligence are directly rewarded, and Mercury's transit here activates your thinking around all these practical dimensions of daily life. Mercury in Cancer in the 6th house makes your approach to work and problem-solving more emotionally intelligent during this period. You will notice that you are not just analyzing workplace situations logically but also processing them through your feelings and your sense of what is right. This emotional attunement can make you significantly more effective in any work environment that involves managing people, providing service, or navigating workplace dynamics. Your colleagues and clients will feel that you genuinely care about the quality of your work and about how it affects the people involved, which is a quality that builds trust and professional credibility in lasting ways. Mercury rules your 5th house through Gemini and your 8th house through Virgo. When it transits the 6th house, it brings the energy of these two houses into your daily work zone. The 5th house represents creativity, intelligence, education, and children. The 8th house represents research, hidden matters, transformation, and joint finances. The combination of 5th and 8th house energy through Mercury in the 6th house means that some of your daily work during this transit has a creative and research-oriented quality. Work that requires digging deep into complex subject matter, solving problems through innovative thinking, or applying creative intelligence to practical challenges is particularly supported. If you work in healthcare, research, finance, creative industries, or any field where depth and originality matter, your daily professional output during this transit can be of exceptional quality. What makes this transit particularly powerful for Aquarius individuals is that Mercury enters Cancer in the 6th house alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. The Saraswati Yoga in the 6th house is one of the most effective combinations for handling challenges, overcoming obstacles, and excelling in service-oriented work. Jupiter exalted in the 6th house brings wisdom to your approach to daily work challenges and a natural ethical authority that others in your workplace respond to. It also creates a powerful protective quality in the face of competition or conflict, giving you the clarity and composure to navigate difficult professional situations with intelligence rather than reactivity. Venus alongside Jupiter and Mercury in the 6th house adds a grace and appeal to your daily professional presence, and can indicate recognition or positive feedback coming your way through your work quality and service. On a very practical level, this is a strong period for addressing any outstanding work challenges, tackling tasks you have been putting off, and engaging with professional obstacles that require your direct and focused attention. The period from June 22nd to June 29th when Mercury is direct in your 6th house is your most active window. Workplace communications during this period are sharp, empathetic, and effective. If you have been dealing with a difficult colleague or a competitive professional situation, your ability to handle it with wisdom and emotional intelligence is at a high point. Health deserves genuine attention during this transit. Mercury in your 6th house activates your health consciousness, and Cancer's influence makes digestive health, emotional eating patterns, and the relationship between your emotional state and your physical well-being particularly relevant areas to examine. This is a good period to research health topics, consult with a healthcare professional about something that has been on your mind, or implement a more consistent health routine. The presence of Jupiter and Venus in the same house provides a degree of protection for your health, but it also requires you to take the initiative in caring for your body and not simply relying on good fortune. Debts and financial obligations also come into focus during this transit. If you have outstanding loans, repayments, or financial obligations related to your daily life, Mercury in the 6th house encourages you to engage with these matters actively, communicate with the relevant parties where necessary, and develop a clear plan for resolution. The supportive planetary combination here means these financial matters can be navigated constructively if approached with honesty and intelligence. The retrograde beginning on June 29th asks you to review your daily routines, work processes, and health practices. Mercury retrograde in the 6th house is one of the most practical retrogrades because it identifies inefficiencies, errors, and gaps in how you manage your everyday responsibilities. Work communications during the retrograde need extra careful review before being sent. Workplace misunderstandings are possible, so being particularly precise and patient in your professional correspondence is important. Health routines that you had going but allowed to lapse may call for your attention again during this period. Old workplace conflicts or unresolved dynamics with colleagues may resurface during the retrograde. With Jupiter and Venus supporting Mercury in your 6th house, these resurfacings are opportunities for genuine resolution rather than renewed conflict. Approaching them with the emotional openness of Cancer and the wisdom of Jupiter will make a real difference in how they conclude. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your 6th house is a period of practical intelligence, effective daily performance, and health awareness for Aquarius individuals. The Saraswati Yoga in the house of daily work and service turns this transit into one of your most productive and professionally competent periods of the year. Use the direct phase to address work challenges head-on and engage with health and financial matters proactively. Use the retrograde to review, correct, and refine your daily processes. For Pisces, Mercury transiting Cancer moves through your 5th house, which is one of the most joyful and creatively rich positions in the entire chart. The 5th house represents creativity in all its forms, romantic relationships, children and their well-being, education and intelligence, speculative activities, artistic talents, past life merit that manifests as blessings in this life, and the playful, expressive dimension of your personality. When Mercury transits this house, your mind comes alive with creative ideas, intellectual curiosity, and a desire to engage with the things that bring you genuine joy and personal fulfillment. Mercury in Cancer in the 5th house gives your creative and intellectual expression a deeply personal and emotionally rich quality during this period. What you write, create, teach, or express during this transit comes from a genuinely felt place within you, not just from technical skill or habitual practice. The Cancer quality ensures that your creative output carries warmth, human depth, and a kind of emotional truth that resonates with people because it is clearly coming from the heart. Whether you express yourself through writing, music, teaching, art, or conversation, the authenticity of what you produce during this transit is its most compelling quality. Mercury rules your 4th house through Gemini and your 7th house through Virgo. When it transits the 5th house, it brings the energy of these two houses into your creative and intellectual zone. The 4th house represents home, mother, emotional security, and your roots. The 7th house represents partnerships, business dealings, and your primary relationship. The combination of 4th and 7th house energy through Mercury in the 5th house means that your creative work during this transit may be deeply rooted in personal and domestic experience, drawing from your emotional life, your home environment, or your relationship history for inspiration. It also means that a business partnership may take on a creative collaborative dimension, or that a romantic relationship becomes more intellectually vibrant and creatively stimulating than usual. The most extraordinary aspect of this transit for Pisces individuals is that Mercury enters Cancer in the 5th house alongside Jupiter, which is exalted, and Venus. Jupiter exalted in the 5th house is one of the most celebrated placements in Vedic astrology for creative intelligence, genuine wisdom, and the blessings of good fortune that come through your own merit and past life spiritual credit. This placement is associated with exceptional intellectual capacity, a deep and genuine connection to knowledge, and often a very meaningful relationship with children or students. Venus in the 5th house alongside Jupiter is a deeply romantic, aesthetically rich, and creatively inspired combination. The Saraswati Yoga formed by Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus in your 5th house is perhaps the most ideally placed version of this conjunction for a Pisces native, because the fifth house is where all three of these planets can express their finest qualities. Mercury's intelligence, Jupiter's wisdom, and Venus's beauty all find their most natural creative expression in the house of creativity, education, and joy. Practically speaking, this is one of the strongest creative periods of the year for Pisces individuals. Whether you are writing, teaching, designing, performing, studying, or creating content, your work can stand out during this transit. The direct phase from June 22nd to June 29th is especially powerful for launching or advancing important creative projects. Use this brief window with focus and intention. For students, this transit is highly supportive. The fifth house governs education and intelligence, and Saraswati Yoga enhances your ability to learn, understand, retain, and communicate complex ideas. If you are preparing for examinations, presentations, certifications, or creative submissions, this transit supports both preparation and performance. Children also become an important focus. If you have children, communication with them becomes warmer, more meaningful, and more engaging. You may take a greater interest in their emotional well-being, education, and personal development. For those considering parenthood or dealing with matters involving children's education and growth, the combination of Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter creates a supportive and nurturing environment. Romantic matters also receive a beautiful boost. Venus in your fifth house alongside Mercury creates a tone of romantic conversation, playful intellectual exchange, and creative sharing within relationships. If you are in a relationship, it may feel lighter, more enjoyable, and more mentally alive during this transit. Conversations become sweeter, more expressive, and more emotionally engaging. If you are single, this transit can attract romantic interest through your intelligence, charm, and emotional warmth. New connections may begin through conversation, shared interests, or an immediate sense of ease and genuine connection. The retrograde beginning on June 29th brings a review phase to your creative and intellectual world. Mercury retrograde in the fifth house is a classic period for revisiting creative projects you started but did not finish, returning to subjects of study you once loved but set aside, and reconnecting with the creative impulses that defined an earlier and perhaps more genuinely expressive period of your life. An old creative collaboration may resurface. A romantic chapter from the past might come back into your awareness. A course or area of learning you once pursued with enthusiasm might call for a second look with fresh eyes. Speculative financial activities should be approached with real caution during the retrograde period. The fifth house has a connection to risk and speculation, and Mercury retrograde here is not the right time to take financial risks. Hold off on any investment decisions that involve uncertainty until Mercury turns direct again and you have the full picture. Overall, Mercury transiting Cancer in your fifth house is one of the most creatively and intellectually enriching transits of the year for Pisces individuals. The Saraswati Yoga in the house of creativity, intelligence, and joy brings a rare and beautiful combination of wisdom, artistry, and communicative brilliance into the most expressive part of your chart. Use this transit to create, learn, love, and express yourself with sincerity. What you produce during this time has the potential to genuinely move others, because it comes from emotional depth, intellectual richness, an authentic feeling that is difficult to fake and easy to recognize. As we conclude this episode, please keep in mind that these insights are based on the Sidereal zodiac system used in Vedic astrology, which differs from the tropical system by approximately 24 degrees. These are general predictions. The real impact depends on your dasha cycles and your individual birth chart. For a personalized analysis or consultation, feel free to reach out. If you found this video valuable, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And now, you can also hype this video to boost it within the community. Your support helps this knowledge reach more people who may benefit. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, keep learning, and keep shining bright.